Hello everybody and welcome to part 6 of What If Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, was in the My Hero Academia universe. We finally arrived at the long-awaited sports festival. I'm really excited about this arc. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, please do so. There will be a link in the description below to a playlist and also in the annotation above. And if you haven't, please consider subscribing. In the next 2 days, Peter and the others, like in the anime, don't have class because the school is closed. The first day of school since the incident, everybody's discussing the events that had previously unfolded and what has been on the news. Ida walks in and says that class is about to start, that everybody should take their seats. Everybody wonders who will be teaching today. Aizawa walks in and announces the sports festival and everybody gets super excited. Later at lunch, Uraka explains her motivations for becoming a hero, and the rest proceeds like in the normal anime, with All Might having lunch with Midoriya and all that. After school, the main confrontation with Shinso and Tetsu goes pretty much the same, except like always, Peter is in a hurry and has to get to his extra classes while the rest have the confrontation with the other students. They spend the next few days preparing the whole class spends the next few days preparing for the sports festival. And the specs Peter sent in for his devices in the sports festival were approved. Since Peter is part of kind of a support course thing, and they are allowed to bring as many items as they want as long as they made them themselves. And part of the hero course, he is allowed, and he's also part of the hero course and gets like training. He's allowed to bring only 5 items. He trains and prepares his devices for the big day. Before Peter leaves for school on the day of the sports festival, Aunt May wishes Peter good luck, and his little brothers jump on him, throwing him to the ground, saying, "Win for us, Peter! You can do it! We'll be watching!" Aunt May also says, "We will also be recording." Peter leaves her school in the locker. Peter leaves her school. In the locker room, when Todoroki challenges Midoriya, Peter goes to Midoriya and says, "I'll do my best to beat you, buddy." And both of them shake hands like friendly rivalry. Good luck, they say to each other. Peter grabs his new web shooters, putting them on, and puts his utility belt on as well. When Bakugo gives his speech, Peter says, "Ah man, why did he have to do that? He's just putting our class's reputation through the mud and making us targets." The first game is announced to be an obstacle course. As the race starts and everybody is stuck in the entrance, except for the first people, like the people who are at the front, Peter just runs on the roof to not run into this problem. Like, he can basically run on the roof, so there's no problem there. After the tunnel, he runs out, and right before Todoroki freezes everyone in place, Peter's spider sense kicks in and he evades the attack. When the robots show up, Todoroki freezes them and they fall. Peter, like Zero does in the anime, swings over them, continuing the race. Peter stays pretty high up on the rankings. Once he gets to the second obstacle, he sees that Todoroki is already halfway done with the obstacle, and says, "It's like this obstacle course was made with me in mind." He jumps down the hole, and people actually think he committed suicide or something. They basically ruled him out of the race. But then you can see a tiny rock being a tiny piece of web on a rock, and Peter catapults out of the hole and screams, "Yes!" and swings his way to spot number 3. Since Bakugo is already in front of him, and behind Peter, we see Harry riding on his glider saying, "Hey Pete, what's up?" He overlaps Peter, but right before the third obstacle, the mines, the glider runs out of fuel, and Harry has to walk the rest of the way. Since refueling would take too much time in the minefield, Bakugo and Todoroki since refueling would take too much time, he has to walk. In the minefield, Bakugo and Todoroki are fighting for the first place, and Peter just starts running through the minefield like it was a normal track. The audience just looks at Peter. The audience in the stands just looks at Peter in awe, wondering how he isn't triggering any explosion. President Mike then says, Peter Parker, his quirk, Spider. He does whatever a spider can. He can stick to surfaces, create webs, he create webs that he shoots from machines on his wrist. He also has a danger sense. The heroes then start saying that he would be very useful, and the management department calculated his worth going up a lot. Peter runs through the minefield as Midoriya just flies by them, like he did in the anime, breaking Bakugo and Todoroki apart. Peter then jumps over them and webs their feet to the floor and webs their faces so they can't see. They break his webs easily, like with explosions and ice. Like Todoroki freezes it, Bakugo blows the webs up, but it slowed them down enough. The race ends with Midoriya first, Peter second by very little, and he says good job, and the rest are all moved down by one, like Todoroki's third, Bakugo fourth, etc. Minor modifications that keeps some people in. Harry got 42nd like Aoyama, but since Mei Hatsume would be kicked out by this, I'm saying she stays in, and the guy that does speech bubble powers is the one kicked out. He does nothing in the actual thing, so I'm just taking him out. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the episode. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you are new. This is where I'm going to leave it for today. If you have any suggestions for anything, be it another series or whatever, please leave it in the comments. The next few episodes will be, like the next 2, maybe 3, will be focusing on the sports festival a bit more. Like the next one will be the cavalry race, and then I start with the battles. So yeah, leave your like for that. Until next time, have a nice day.